Hello and welcome back to another episode in the pizzeria, your slice of Scottish football, Salmon's Pizzeria. Today we are going to be looking over a couple of the games again, like we did in the week on the Premier Sports Cup, but we'll mix up as well. We'll get the guys to do a couple of predictions, and then at the end of the season we can see how wrong they all were. Delighted to say, first off, we're going to drop down and we're going to go to our resident Killy fan and say, welcome, Paul. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm good, Stu. How's yourself?
Yes, very, very well. Very excited to hear what you guys have written down for some of the questions I posed to you earlier. So we'll see how they go. And for the first time on Salmon's Pizzeria, he has been part of it from the start. But the first time after we finally got his new camera and microphone set up, we welcome Lee. Lee, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing very well, mate. It's finally good to get on this. I've been, I think, in the works for about 3 or 4 months, hasn't it? Trying to get me on here, and just between not being able to get the microphone sorted, it's been a nightmare. So it's really, I'm buzzing to get this started.
Yeah, and is that a haircut, by the way? Because I tested your camera yesterday, and it was far wilder than that.
It's just trimmed the beard in, mate. That's all. It's still the mess it is.
Very, very good. Right, I mean, we'll jump straight in because I've put a couple of the games from the Premier Sports Cup along to you boys, and we'll go over them and the teams in general and how we think they're going to do this season before we jump into these predictions, which are going to be the funnest part, I feel. And I was trying to pick some games we couldn't avoid. We have to put the likes of Hibs in because it's a shock result, right? So that's going to be good to go over. But one game that I did ask you both to watch. And I'll come to you first, Paul, is Livingston 1, Dunfermline 0. I thought this would be quite an interesting game on the basis that, Livy have gone down. We know there's never going to be a lot of money at Livy, let's face it. David Martindale was sort of working magic, really, to keep him in the Premiership for so long. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they do this season. Obviously playing Dunfermline, another Championship team. What were your sort of thoughts on the game then from the highlights you watched? Because I think just on the little bits I was seeing, and we'll go into it a bit more, but I thought Yengi looked a real handful, and Livy, we know Livy like this big striker, and they seem to have found another one because he's very deft with his feet, and he was going past people for fun. Just with the amount of players they lost, it was a high turnover, and they seem to have settled pretty quickly, judging from their first couple of games.
Yeah, well, I didn't catch that one, but I just looked at the stats there. 64% possession for Livingston. So, I mean, that suggests that the scoreline was maybe a bit lenient in Dunfermline. But they've signed Robbie Muirhead, and he scored the winner for them yesterday. He's going to be a big player, I think, for them in the Championship. I've always thought Robbie Muirhead's maybe a player that could step up a level, but he's always been about the Championship level, so I think he'll do well for them this season.
Yeah, Lee, I mean, definitely is another point I'd written down about Robbie Muirhead. Maybe a bit of a surprise that Livy pulled that one off, because like Paul said, he's always done well for Greenock Morton, and maybe a surprise that he didn't go up a level. There must have been teams sniffing around, especially obviously for Livy. It's fantastic. They lose Oberlai, they use Nuble. They've also brought in Ryan McGowan, who we know is a very experienced player. But Robbie Muirhead, and again, I think is he 2-2 already? I think in the cup for them. So he's, like Paul said, he could be a huge asset for them going forward this season.
See, I would have been surprised at the signing, mate, because like you're saying, they probably could have easily made the step up, mate. See, especially with teams like Ross County losing Simon Murray, I feel that could have been like an easily player that could have slotted in there. I think it just comes down to more the fact, look at the amount of players that Livingston let go at the end of the season. Like you were saying, with the high turnover, I think, mate, I've read something that was to do with like they must have saved an absolute ton in wages. So that could have been just kind of the deciding factor, mate, if you've chucked a good sign-on fee at this boy. And then that's probably one of the reasons with the game. But, mate, Livingston, I was saying just before the season ended last year, I had Livingston as back-to-back relegations. Honestly, I just thought there was nothing about them last season. I thought they were going to be one of the first teams I've seen that do back-to-back in the Championship for a while. But they've turned me around to the point where I probably put them just slight favourites to go back up now. I think the signings that they've made have been brilliant. Like I say, mate, Ryan McGowan, absolute terrific sign for them. It might be getting on a wee bit in age, but he's kind of the experience that he needs in the back. Talked about Robbie Muirhead. He's an absolute fantastic signing for the division. And then the one that kind of I think I'm most impressed with. I think I'm biased because it's a Football Manager decision for me. But Andrew Winter that was signed, the boy for Hamilton Accies. I remember going with Wrexham in my game, and I think he took me up to the Premier League, mate, man, I love. And he's got that talent in real life as well. So seems to be, mate, it's not even just Livingston. It's a point I'm going to bring up later as well. I feel the majority of teams in Scotland this season are bringing in like fantastic strikers. Like everyone's strengthening the front line, something awful, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and I've made a note as well. I think in general the Championship especially is going to be really exciting this season because just going through, I don't think there's a really weak team in that league, and I think it's gonna we'll come to it mainly for the Dundee United Air game again where I want to touch on it, but we will come to. I mean, another surprise for me for Livy, obviously Shamal George was in goal, but I did see that they'd signed the French goalkeeper as well, who he was on the bench, but. You know, I think he's played like something like 29 first team games in the top league of France with Bordeaux. So, and he's only 28 now. So you think they've somehow pulled off some cracking signings. Paul, looking on Dunfermline side, David Wotherspoon's there, obviously. Everyone, knows about him. Another player that maybe could still be plying his trade in the top division, if we're honest, because I thought, in the highlights, he looked pretty good. Chris Kane has made his loan move permanent there as well. So what are you sort of, and again, we will come into it a little bit later, but what are you sort of expecting from the Championship this season?
Well, Championship, I think, just what we spoke about, the Levy, they're looking pretty solid, and I don't see them not winning most games. So I think Livingston will go straight back up. But I think Partick Thistle will be quite close. They've got Logan Chalmers from Dundee United, and he scored a barrel load for Ayr last season. So I think he'll do well for them. So I can see that those two teams been at the top, and then probably down the bottom. I think Dunfermline. I think they'll flatter to deceive, to be honest. So I think I'll go for them second bottom, and Hamilton just to drop straight back down again.
Well, I'm gonna just hold on to this. I mean, you're giving us a little spoiler there. We're gonna go straight through into the predictions, so do hold on to them a little bit. I did set you up a little bit to give me them, though. To be fair, we'll jump straight into the shock result then of the Premier Sports Cup so far. Then Lee, Kelty Hearts 1, Hibs 0. I think most Hearts fans will be delighted to see a Hearts beating a Hibs. Hibs, they've been a team that, and it is the Premier Sports Cup. It is basically pre-season with that tiny bit of a competitive edge. Hibs have really impressed me up until this result. Listen, from the highlights, Hibs miss a barrel load of chances, if we're honest. Vente hits the post. I think Boyle, Z hit the woodwork as well. Some really, really poor finishing on Hibs' part. Kelty Hearts, they stick to their task. They're obviously well coached there. Michael Tidser, currently the manager. Scott Allen coming back on the scene, and one thing you're going to get with Scott Allen, even if the boy is getting older and he might not be able to put himself around the pitch, you're going to get deadly set plays, and obviously the goal does come from that sort of short corner. I still remember in the Championship those vicious, like drilled corners he used to put in, and it's it's just centre back stream, isn't it, to header those. What's your sort of early thoughts on Hibs going into the Premiership season based off of this result and what they've done so far?
See, it's a tough one, mate, because I'm kind of picking up on your point, like you were saying. It is only kind of pre-season, these games. Fair enough, there is the competitive edge, it is a cup competition. But that's why I've kind of struggled a bit with the later predictions for like your kind of shock of the season, because I don't really want to make many predictions based on this. I mean, Airdrie went and beat East Kilbride 8-0, and they're not going to do that again in the league this season. I don't think East Kilbride will put in as poor a performance. So I've been impressed. I have been impressed with Hibs so far. I think they scored 5 goals in both games so far before this one.
Yep. So
obviously, mate, they look like they're showing early signs of improvement under David Gray, and I think, mate, I think he will do well with them. So it's just necessary. Take this one in the chin, because I think it was a kind of freak result in the terms of, like you were saying, mate, Vente hit the post. I'm pretty sure Martin Boyle had a couple cleared off the line. He had one goal that was ruled off, and just a lack of concentration, mate. Like you know us, like watching Rangers all over the years, how many times we've lambasted that team for switching off at the moment, even like many times against Celtic. and they've capitalised on it, have conceded a goal. So it felt all too familiar watching them, kind of switch off at that corner. And that's all it was, mate, because they were dominant through the entire game. It's just that one lack of moment of concentration where they switched off and it's cost them. But I don't see any cause for concern really going forward, because they have started well, and I think they will continue to get better under David Gray.
Yeah, Paul, do you think for Hibs it's listen, their expectation is always going to be to sort of look at those European spots, challenging your own team, Kilmarnock, maybe this season. Do you think that's a realistic hope straight away for a couple of bad seasons for them? Based on how they've started this season, are you thinking as a Kilmarnock fan that you are going to be in a battle with them sort of for third, fourth place, or do you think they're going to be maybe consolidating a little bit with the hopes of fifth, fourth, even third if it goes really well?
I think they might hit mid-table if they're lucky, but it'll be a learning curve as well for David Gray, so he'll learn a lot of things from this season. But I mean, the game yesterday that's a cooking buster.
Yeah,
and I know a few people that cooking went down with that game. But I mean, the possession they had 63% to Kelty's 37%, so that shows you that they were on top of the play for the whole game. And as you guys say, it's maybe just a switch off that's let them in. So I don't see that being too much a cause for concern for them.
Yep, that's fair enough. Moving swiftly on, then we've got a repeat of the Premiership relegation playoff from last season, Ross County and Raith Rovers. This time finishing Ross County 2, Raith Rovers 1. So Ross County again hitting the front against Raith. Obviously a little bit of change in both sides here, Lee. Now, from watching this game, I thought County started really, really well, and I thought they maybe threatened to sort of blow them away a little bit. Raith, I thought in the second half were very, very good at most times. It's quite exciting, I think, for you yourself say you're a foot manager player. I always like when those experienced players go to the lower down clubs, or not lower down clubs, but it's the Championship, right? So when you've got Paul Hanlon, Lewis Stevenson, they've both joined Raith, and obviously Callum Fordyce is there now as well. So it's a very, very experienced back line, albeit Paul Hanlon didn't play for Raith today. What were your sort of thoughts watching this one back? Because it did seem one of those, age-old things in football. Sometimes the simple thing works, and cross balls into Jordan White more often than not works.
Aye. Again, mate, it was kind of linking back to Rangers last season when they beat us near the end. The kind of cross balls into the box for Ross County were what really damaged us, and they've kind of picked up where they left off for that with this season. It's a strange one as well, because I would have had Ross County as one of my teams probably most likely to go down, and Raith Rovers before I kind of had Livingston to win the league. I had them probably to win it myself, but like I say, mate, I thought Ross County were far too dominant for them. Again, Jordan White, it won't be the like-for-like replacement for Simon Murray, because I know they brought in that young boy for Cliftonville, who I think has got a fantastic goal-to-game ratio. Again, mate, it was one of the games where tail two halves for me, like you were saying with it. Ross County were brilliant in the first half, Raith Rovers were brilliant in the second half. And I think based on that alone, I could probably see them both doing really well this season. I have a soft spot for Ross County, mate. It's just, I've always liked them. I think it's just from Alex as well up in the Highlands. He always talks about them in a good light. So I thought it was a good game for the neutral, mate, because that was one of the games where it was a good ding-dong in the middle. And like I was saying, I think both of them will be fine moving forward.
Yeah, Paul, I'm not sure how much of this one you saw, but something that's becoming a bit of a thing for this Premier Sports Cup is some fantastic goals. And listen, 9 times out of 10 what you're going to get when Jordan White is in the box and when he's receiving crosses. But Raith Rovers themselves, they score a cracking header, which is a Lewis Stevenson assist, by the way. Nice deep cross in from the left. And then Harmon, who I thought was very, very good. Harmon, he was really, really busy in the match, getting around it. He gets a bit of a break of the ball from the shot, and then the second one, he's quick enough to sort of fire home. Very hard to judge from this sort of game how each team are going to do in their respective leagues, but you would think more likely than not, Raith Rovers are going to be back in amongst the mix for those sort of playoffs, maybe a little push at promotion again?
I think they will be out there, but I didn't see this one again. But again, looking at the stats, I mean, it looked a fairly even game, and it took Ross County up to 87 minutes to get the winner. So I think from that, I think Raith's probably given themselves a good account in the game. So I think they'll be up there again, challenging, definitely.
Yeah, and staying with you then, Paul. Final game that we're going to sort of cover, because as I say, we'll go over. We'll try and do a bigger roundup when we've got a number of games in the bank. But I did want to touch on the live game at least. Dundee United 2, Ayr United 1. Dundee United had a bit of a mixed start. It's hard to know what to make of Dundee United going into this season, because Goodwin is very hit and miss in the Premiership, as we've seen for Aberdeen and Dundee United there. They've signed a lot of sort of foreign players, which is always exciting, I think, for Scottish clubs when we see foreign players come into our league. Babinski's, he obviously gets the goal straight from the corner, I think it is, and he was on Barcelona's books as a youngster. What are you sort of thinking? And again, no sort of full-on predictions, but are you thinking Dundee United are going to be a team that have got a long way to go? Because there's a few players that have not really tried and tested in this division.
No, I think, as I said in the last show, like Ryan Strain coming in from St Mirren, he'll be solid up that right wing. I think he's the right wing back. So, and he set up a goal in one of the other Premier Sports games. So I think he'll be good for them. In terms of the other game last night, I did see that one, and again it did look pretty even. But then the young boy Brandon Forbes stepped up with that 25-yard free kick, and nearly took the stanchion off with it. So that was a belter.
Yes, Leah, absolutely. I mean, I wrote down here, arguably a contender for goal of the season right away.
Oh mate,
definitely.
I took him a notes, but it's like that boy wasn't devoid of any confidence anyway. For his debut coming on, I'm pretty sure the commentator alluded to the fact that in the short space of time he was on the pitch before, I think, including the goal, that was like his third shot on target. So it could be a wee good prospect for them moving forward. But like on the point of Dundee United, I think the only certainty I think I've got for them is they'll make a few quid out of names in the back of shirts for the signings they're bringing in, with all the letters people are going to need to buy, like Trapanovsky and Babuski and stuff. So they're definitely going to make a few quid with that. Mate, boy scores directly for the... I can't even mind, was it a free kick for the kind of corner side, or was it an actual corner?
I'm thinking it was a corner. From my memory, it's an actual corner. It might have been a free kick over there, but it was definitely... I'm pretty sure it might have been a free kick. You throw me off now, because I watched it live, right? And it was the one game I didn't go back to for the notes, so you've completely shown me up here, Lee. But for whatever it was a ridiculous angle, wasn't it? And it shouldn't really be going in. But it was worth it going in just for the goal tune they play after it.
Aye, I was going to say, but I couldn't remember, mate, if it was a corner or no. But in that game, mate, overall, I was more impressed with Ayr than I was with Dundee United. Like, Dundee United at home, against a team that are in a lower league, they're expected to win. But, mate, Ayr really impressed me. Again, Ayer's one of the teams I think are going to be good this season. They've signed well. Obviously, they're bringing Jake Hasty. They've brought in, obviously, the boy that they signed for Coventry. Is it Marco Roos?
Roos, yeah. He scored an absolute belter as well.
I was his little cousin. Mate, honestly, I think they'll do well to keep a hold of that boy if he continues to play the way he is, because he's came in already and I think he scored 2 and 3 or something like that. And obviously, decent enough pedigree coming up for Coventry, even though he was out on loan last season. He could make in a year, if Ayr United don't get up this season, he'll probably end up at one of the top 6 teams in the league. Just for what first time I'm looking at, mate, even through just highlights, the boy was brilliant. Honestly, he's got a good bit of pace about him, he's got a good bit of skill. I think Ayr will do well this season.
Yeah, Paul, and sort of what last sort of couple of points before we jump into your predictions and stuff. It does feel exciting going into the season, because I feel like we've had plenty of years of lackluster signings, and listen, it's not always the club's fault. There's not a lot of money in our league. We know this. Sometimes it can't be helped. But there are a lot of signings. No matter what club you go to, it feels all of them have picked up 1, 2, 3. Whether it's experience, whether it's an exotic signing, Air picking up Roos from Coventry, a 21-year-old Romanian boy who's, he was very highly rated when he went to Coventry's. It showed straight away in like Lee said, in a couple of appearances fair, especially on the big stage. TV cameras on, way at Dundee United, tough game, and travels half the length of the pitch to bang one in the bottom corner. It just feels positive about Scottish football. Certainly the early stages of the season, just through sheer signings that teams are making.
Definitely, there's a lot of exciting signings. I mean, that boy Trapanovski in Dundee United. He scored in the Premier Sports Cup, and it looks really good as well, to be honest. I can see him getting a few goals this season. But it seems like all the managers have really got down to work and they've got some quality signings in, so it's definitely a season to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, certainly listed on paper, Dundee United. Like, I know Lee's saying about the letters there, but there's the Trapanovski's come in. I think is he a North Macedonian 21 international? I won't batter the boy's name, that the other North Macedonian they've brought in, but Skelv is it, or Skelj? He's a North Macedonian international, regularly capped for them. Like I said already, Babunski, a guy that's come through 10 years at Barcelona from a young age. So Dundee United have got some exciting players. It's just whether can it all click together and will it work? Because it's a big culture shock, I think, coming into our league sometimes for a lot of these players. Right, we're going to move on then into the predictions. We were supposed to have Jenna as well, but things came up, so we couldn't have Jenna. So I will get Jenna's, and I'll get a couple of the other lads on the pod's predictions as well, so that when we come back at the end of the season, hopefully we can all laugh at how wrong they were. First off, we will start with Lee, and we will start in League 2. Can you give me your winners and the team you think is going to finish bottom? Also, will they get relegated out of the pyramid?
Like I was saying to you just before this, mate, this was a kind of forget moment. You'd asked us to kind of check this last night. It was 15 minutes before the podcast came on. I forgot we were meant to be doing League 1 and League 2 predictions as well, which is very good of me, considering it's a Scottish League podcast, I was looking at it. I think relegated, and I think they will get relegated. I think it's hard to look by Edinburgh City, mate. I know they've got a wee bit more stability behind them, and they've signed a good few players kind of getting back to it. But again, is it signing too many players to gel enough in time to keep up? Just again, mate, I have no idea what's really going on with them this season. Plus, just purely for their stadium alone, mate, I'd relegate them, because that thing's a BTEC Hampden. That thing's I saw photos on Twitter, mate. That thing's a disaster. Honestly, you think the view at Hampden's bad? Like, you're sitting like the bottom of like a flat, pretty much under a flat with him. And then promoted, I think I'm going to go Clyde. I thought they showed a good account of themselves against Motherwell, and obviously they were taking them with the drop last season for most of the season, but then I think maybe like the last 6 or 7 weeks just kept winning and pulled themselves out of it. I think that momentum, mate, even though you're stopped for the summer, can go a long way, and I think maybe with the right couple more signings, they'll do well in the league, because there's nobody maybe like outside of like Peterhead or something like that, or East Fife. I don't see anybody really taking that league by storm. So there's no reason why I don't think Clyde can win it, considering after surviving last season, they should be full of confidence.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Paul, you give me your predictions as well. Just touch on Lee's there for a second. I mean, Ian McCall is currently the Clyde manager, of course, and Clyde do have this sort of tendency to pull in some decent managers. Obviously, they're Danny Lennon as well. They certainly get the guys that have been there and done it, you should say. And Ian McCall, obviously, very successful past at Thistle and elsewhere as well. What are you going with then for your winners, your team that finishes bottom, and if they get relegated from the pyramid?
I'll go with Edinburgh City as well at the bottom. The stadium, just to agree with you, is absolutely horrific. It's a far cry from Meadowbank Stadium it once was. So I think they'll be bottom, and I think they'll get relegated out the system. I think East Fife, well, obviously as well, Edinburgh City, they've been beaten 6-0 for Partick and 5-0 from Clyde in the Premier Sports. So I think that form will probably go into the league form. And to win it, I think East Fife, I mean, they beat Morton 3-0 in the Premier Sports Cup. And Dick Campbell, he knows how to get teams out of the lower leagues. So even though I don't think they've added much to the team, I think his experience and who he is will get them out of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I've talked about signings in terms of players throughout this league, throughout the leagues, but you're looking at Ian McCall and Dick Campbell, even Ray McKinnon. You've got some real experienced managers down in League Two of Scotland right now. So, and that's what happens. Every year we get more and more managers. There's not many places for them to go, so they do end up filtering down, which hopefully makes those leagues more exciting. So we've got your League Two and your League One predictions. Let's stay with you then, Paul. Moving on to League One. You can, if you want, tell me if you think a ninth place is going to get relegated. You don't have to. All I want really is who's going to win the league and who's going to finish bottom and be relegated.
So League One, I think Andy Graham and Alloa will finish top of the league and go up. Because obviously they were quite close in the playoffs and they had a really good season last season, albeit they had a Kilmarnock player on loan, which I don't think they'll have this season, but I'm sure they'll be able to get someone else to bang some goals in. So I think they'll win it. And to go down a bit Annan, just talked about this in the last programme as well, I think the teams that will do well will be teams with decent budgets. In this league, and I don't think Annan will have a strong enough budget, basically, and I think they'll just drop right down.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. They're the safe picks. I'm waiting for your hot takes, lads, as well. So I'm looking forward to a couple of these. Lee, same sort of question to you. And once again, when you look through the managers in this league, by the way, and you've got the likes of Stuart Petrie and Gary Naismith, Stephen Farrell, Paul Hartley, Jim McIntyre, it's a crazy level of standard, really, for managers in League One of Scotland.
See, I think I found this one a wee bit tougher, mate, because I think there's a few teams that could possibly win it. But I think just based on the result against Hibs yesterday, I'm swaying more towards Kelty Hearts to win it. And that might just be purely for the fact that Scott Ireland is probably the best player in the division by a considerable distance. But they've, again, slowly been building year on year, Kelty Hearts. I know they kind of had a tough one a couple of years back, but I think they'll probably be up there at the very least. Then Queen of the South maybe as well pushing them, because again, like a team that belong in the Championship at the very least, mate. So I think they're kind of a sleeping giant coming up. Going down, exactly the same reason why I've chosen Edinburgh City is probably Inverness, mate. Like, I know they've won 3-0 at the weekend, but I think I see back-to-back relegations for them. And that might just be purely for the fact, mate, they might not be in Inverness come the end of the season. So we don't know, mate. They could be top of the league and in the fold. Just I need to get more information for our resident Highland boy, Alex, and what's going on up there to kind of gauge his opinion on it. But I think in Inverness, and if they do go down, mate, then I think it's guaranteed that, they kind of cease to exist, which is no something anybody should be reveling in. I know you kind of see online and Twitter and stuff, fans like to kind of wind each other up. But if Inverness did go out of business, it would be a travesty for the game. Still doesn't change the fact that I'm putting them down. So
no, absolutely, no, I completely concur. It's not nice to see it when any team really goes. There is talk of this American investment coming as well, so fingers crossed something happen. That, I mean, listen, we could do multiple episodes just on Inverness over the past couple of years. A whole month of uncertainty. No one even knew if the manager was still there. It was just a month. He was AWOL pretty much. We didn't hear a word from him. And then he's just back in the dugout managing again. And a guy that's as big as Duncan Ferguson and the profile he has, it seems strange that he was quiet all that time. So very interesting things to come out of Inverness, I think. And we'll see how Cali do in the coming weeks and months. Moving on then, Paul, let's go to the Championship. This is always ridiculously hard to call. I think, many people say the English Championship's, one of the toughest leagues to get out of. I don't think it's got a scratch on the Scottish Championship, where you've got so many teams. Obviously, we do have the playoffs now. It's rare anyone does come up through it. It's a very difficult league to get out of. But I'm still going to ask for your winners to get promoted then, Paul, and your team that's going to get relegated.
Just going back to Inverness, very brave from Lee, because I was thinking about Inverness, but I didn't want to say anything just in case Big Dunk came down to the door and watched this and even seen this. So. But going back to the Championship, I think probably, as we said, Livy. Well, I've already given these.
Yeah, you have. To be fair, you have. But we'll hear them again. Just expand on the point a little bit. I apologise. I forgot you sort of did. I set you up to give them to us, didn't I?
No, it's fine. Just Livy. I think we'll win. And Partick Thistle will be pretty close by. Going down, I see Hamilton dropping straight down. Not just because of that terrible strip, but that's probably got something to do with it. But I just don't think they'll be able to cut it up there. And then I think, as I said, Dunfermline, although they've made some good signings, I don't think they've been kind of flapping for a couple of seasons now. I don't think they'll escape. But I think they'll end up second bottom and then they'll get relegated. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come to you as well, Lee, because I'm really interested. Obviously, I was interested before to see if either of you would give this team as your potential get promoted. I know you've sort of said Livy as well. So you'd have to expand if there's anyone else that's catching your eye, because there's one team for me that I really want to know if anyone's picked more than anything. So give me your promotion and your relegation.
See, for the fact of how close this league is, mate, I'm not sure if I want to give you one, because I could tell you somebody will finish top and they could easily finish bottom. I went through all the teams again just to kind of refresh the memory. I know I put Livingston as slight favourites, and I probably would need to stick with them, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if even like a Falkirk managed to again do like a double, like came up like promotion back to back again. But if any team, I think you could probably put the likes of Queen's Park, Dunfermline near the bottom, give or take, which one you want to put them straight down. I think it's up for debate. Livingston, Raith was obviously with the experience of Hanlon and Stevenson in the team. I couldn't call it, mate. Honestly, I couldn't call that with any confidence. I think the previous years, when you had like your Dundee United went down or your Kilmarnocks, there was always a clear favourite who was going to win it. Like, even if it maybe ran close or it took Dundee United 5 years to get out of it. There's no even a clear favourite with this one. I think I'd go Livingston just purely for the fact to get some of the experience of being in the Premier League, and they have, like I said, made really good signings. But there's about 4 or 5 teams in that, mate, that could win that. You want to bat an eyelid?
You wouldn't. What are your thoughts on Hibernians this season? And I think also the biggest question maybe, if they do start well, will they be able to keep hold of Rhys McCabe?
It's a good point, mate. Obviously, they lost that. Is it the Bulgarian boy Todorov to Hamilton? And I think he was a massive player for them. The 8-0 against East Kilbride is probably influencing the decision that they'll be higher than they actually are for me. I think they're a brilliant team. They probably could get the playoffs again, but I don't think they'll win it. I think it's just, you look at teams like Livingston, Raith, Rovers, who have that kind of experience up there. And Hibernians, even though they did get into the playoffs, kind of brushed aside in the end. I think they'll have a good season again. But I think also, like you're saying, if they have that good enough a season, Rhys McCabe could be gone, maybe before the season's done. Because you know that the Premier League, there'll be some team in the bottom 6 that will end up sacking the manager, and he should be one of the main candidates to come up for it. So I think it depends, mate. Like I think I agree. It depends on whether Rhys McCabe stays to where they'll finish.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I had to bring it up because, I mean, listen, they were 3-1 down to Dumbarton, to be fair. They did win that 4-3 as well. But I think they're going to have a few of those games, aren't they? They're certainly a team that is will just try and score more than the opposition, which makes for fun football. Whether or not it gets them promoted is a different question. Let's move on to the Scottish Premiership then, and a season of excitement ahead. Paul, obviously, I'm hoping that all of us are a bit more... Our expertise lies a bit more in this field, considering we all support teams in it. Let's start off with, I just want your relegation first then, because we'll build our way up. Who are you tipping for relegation?
I think St Johnstone will drop, and Ross County will be in the playoff places.
St Johnstone to drop and Ross County in the playoff places. It's a brave man who bets against a Craig Levein team to not avoid the drop, I guess, then Lee. Where are you? Where's your sort of head lying in terms of who's going to face the drop this season?
To be honest, I can't disagree with Paul, mate. I mean, how many times have we tried to get rid of St Johnstone in this league? People willing them to go down year on year. And it was like Wigan, mate, back in the old Premier League days where they'd be terrible for 90% of the season and then they'd pull it off in the last 10% and they'd stay up. But I do think they'll probably go down this season. I don't think they've strengthened enough. Up front, it's weird as well because they could contradict that a little bit. I do think they've got two good strikers up front. That kind of the blueprint of Kyogo coming into the league is if a player has a bit of pace, they usually do quite well in this league, especially if you're a striker. And that CDB and Kimpioka, both of them look like they've got a good ton of pace about them. So I do expect him to have good seasons, for St Johnstone, but I don't think it'll be enough to keep them up. I think the rest of the teams have strengthened too much. And again, when it comes to even a playoff or kind of getting to the end of the season, Ross County have the know-how as well to stay up. And I think so far they've probably signed better than St Johnstone have. So probably the same order as Paul. That'll go for St Johnstone automatic and Ross County in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's understandable. Obviously, you look through some of the signings, the likes of Josh McPake. Uchi's come up as well, Ikpeazu, he's great fun to have in the league. I always enjoy watching him because he's just an absolute unit, isn't he? But you can't look away from losing Mitov and Gordon, Phillips, McGowan. They're big players to lose for any team. And when you've already been sort of flirting with relegation, it's only going to hurt you, really, isn't it, Paul?
I think looking at Ikpeazu, I mean, he's only scored one goal for Port Vale last season. So as an attacker coming into the SPL, it's not a great start. Jack Sanders, ex-Kilmarnock player, he's never really got into the team. I think he played at United and loan. But I mean, he's not a bad standard, but I don't think that's the kind of players that they need to be signing, higher profile players to have a chance of staying up.
Yep, it's fair enough. Right, I have asked for your top three. So I think the easiest way to do this is to get your top two, and then we'll go on to third, because I'm feeling like your top two might be a different order, but I assume you've both got the same top two. Maybe not, but I assume you've both got the same top two. So we'll stay with you, Paul. Who's your top two, and what order have you got them in?
Kilmarnock first. I've got, you're probably not like this, but I've got Celtic first and Rangers second. And do you just want the top two?
Just the top two for now, mate. Yep, perfect.
Right.
I assume that the thinking behind Rangers being second is the complete lack of activity going on at Ibrox at the moment. Well, going on at Hampden, I guess you'd have to say right now.
I think Clement will maybe just find a bit more time. And again, it doesn't seem like the players are that high profile that he's brought in. Are players that are going to make you turn your head and think something's going to happen to change the way it finished last season. But it might be proved wrong, hopefully, for the sake of a bit more interest. But I think Celtic, I mean, they've signed Kasper Schmeichel. He's a high profile signing, especially when Hearts walked out the door, you know what I mean? So he'll be the key player, I think, for Celtic, as Hart was last season. So if you're looking at that, that's what I've based my decision on, really. Yeah,
Lee, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be head rolling Hart here, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see if you're top two, or, as I do know you very well, ever a man that's glass half empty, I'd say. I'm assuming your top two is the same order.
Unfortunately, mate, I have to let the head roll over the heart with this one. I can't be biased for the sake of being on the podcast. Mate, I'd fully accepted that this season, and maybe even to an extent next, was going to be a massive transition for Rangers. But I still didn't expect the level of inactivity, both in and out, so far that we've seen this summer. We started off quite well. I'm pretty sure we brought in about 5 or 6, at the start of the window. And we all kind of knew that those were the project signings. But then when you've had links to, like Kenny McLean, who's been linked, and then nothing's really happened to that. You've heard of the boy that just went to PSV, a winger. It looks like he came out and admitted that we put in a bid. But either just no looking at proper experience, or we just can't seem to get these big ones over the line. And it's put me in the position alongside with we're not going to see Ibrox maybe for the best part of 2-3 months, could be even into the next year we see it. There's no part of me that can sit here and try and convince you that I think Rangers are going to win the league. Like, that's just, Celtic need to do the bare minimum, and they're doing that right now. Fair enough, I see their fans are not really happy with how slow their transfers have been, but they've brought in two great players. Young boy for Aston Villa, who was on loan at Exeter, he's a keeper that's for the future, and he's going to be learning for one of the best in the game. Still a Danish international. So I think they're doing it spot on, mate, and we're just labouring behind. So unfortunately, I need to put Celtic one in the league and us second.
Well, there you go. Both going Celtic and Rangers. I'm sure Josh, who will be back on the pod soon, will be very, very happy with those predictions. And I imagine he's thinking exactly the same. So staying with you then, Lee. This is always an important one, one that's going to be very interesting throughout the season. Who is your third place this season?
I'm trying to decide whether to go with this as my hot take or... My head, again, is saying Hearts, purely on the basis of they've not really lost anybody for the squad that finished a comfortable third last season. Plus, they're doing what Rangers and Celtic used to do years ago and hoovering up the best talent for the rest of the league. I think Jan Dander's an absolute terrific signing. That could end up being one of probably the best signing of the summer. But then there's just always that wee niggling doubt, because a team that finishes third in the league eventually has to fall off. And I think if they finished twice third the last 2 seasons now. So
yes, I believe so.
So the hot take that I was possibly going to say is Steady Hearts, and I've been thinking it for the last couple of weeks, is Motherwell, mate. Motherwell to finish third. Just again, if they keep a hold of Lennon Miller, mate, he's arguably in the top 3 midfielders in the Premier League now. I think that boy has got an absolute terrific future ahead of him. Obviously, brought in the money for Bear. I think that will help them kind of, push up the league as well, because they've got a wee bit of money now that they can go and splash the cash. They've just went and signed that Australian boy today, haven't they, for about £230,000. Yep. And that's already supplementing an attack that I think looks quite good. They've obviously got that boy Moses up front. They've got, is it Zach Robinson, who was at Dundee last season? I think, mate, I think he's brilliant. I think he was a really good player for Dundee. And hold on to a check the pronunciation of this one, mate, so I don't ruin it. Is it Stuparovic, the boy they brought in? Again, he's only been had fleeting appearances, but he came on yesterday and he scored a great goal. So, and it's always been a thing that Motherwell can do, mate, is they can bring a player in for obscurity and then they turn this striker into a world beater. They've done it since the days of Scott McDonald, and obviously no one would have ever expected them to do that with Theo Bear last season, to end up selling them for 1.4 million. So I think Stuart Kettlewell's ability and to train and coach a player, and Motherwell's scouting department, I think have always been decent. So I think that could propel them to maybe pushing for third.
Yeah, no, it's some great points. I do want to do a quick revision and apologise to Aberdeen fans, because it wasn't Hearts 2 third place in a row. Hearts were 4th 2 seasons ago. It was Aberdeen that were third, weren't they? Because they dropped down into the Conference League group stages and had the fantastic Frankfurt result as well. So apologies there, but listen, Hearts were 3 points off them, so you weren't far off, Lee. Paul, then, are you thinking along the same? I mean, my guess is that you've gone with your own team here, but you might surprise me. Who is your third place?
No, I've went with Hearts as well, because obviously the leading goal scorer last season. I think the creative players that they've added, Jan Dander, Blair Spittle, they'll just provide more chances for him. Mm-hmm. So I can just see them consolidating third again. And do you want the fourth now?
I mean, if you've got listen, I'm happy if you want to give me a fourth as well. I was to 3, but I'm more than happy to have extra content.
Well, this is like the surprise one as well, but so.
Oh, well, okay, we'll save him then. If this is a surprise package, we'll save your surprise package. I did want to ask sort of, both your question, and I'll stay with you first, Paul. Do you think the likes of, Hearts season, you're saying Hearts in third, and then I guess I'll take the second question to Lee. But so for the first one, then, Paul, do you think Hearts third place solely relies on them keeping Lawrence Shankman this season?
Aye, definitely, without a doubt.
Fair enough. I thought that might be your answer, to be fair. Lee, on the outside, then you're saying that you think Motherwell might have a chance. You're very impressed with them. Maybe he hasn't played as many games and hasn't quite been as key as Lawrence Shankland is for Hearts. But in terms of what he is becoming for Motherwell, do you think a lot of their hope this season relies on keeping Lennon Miller?
I don't think it would hurt, that's for sure. It wouldn't have the same importance to Motherwell as Shankland has to Hearts. I think that's just a giveaway. I don't think many people would disagree with that. Yes, I do think probably overall it's key to them because he's 17-year-old, the boy, mate. Like, this is a boy that's at the very start of his career and he's already producing performances like he is. Seen obviously with that owner that was trying to buy Motherwell, they'd valued the club at like 4 million or something like that, and people were wanting more than that for Lennon Miller. So that shows you how much value he's worth to the club, if he's worth more than the entire club itself. I don't think he'll have as much importance because, like we're just saying, mate, top goal scorer in the league with Shankland last season, about 31 goals. It's going to be nigh enough impossible to replicate that. I don't even think Shankland can replicate that. I think last season will be the best one he's had in his career. But he'll still be more important for Hearts than Lennon Miller will be for Motherwell.
Fair enough. Moving on then. So we've got sort of 4 more questions, 4 more predictions to go. And we'll stay with you, Lee. Give me your, you can treat this as a hot take of the season or your surprise package of the season or your overachievers of the season. Who are you going for and why?
I'll try and give you more content and stay away from Motherwell since obviously I've just used that answer. I don't know if it's as much as a hot take, but I think Aberdeen will be right back in the mix last season. Like, they can't be as bad as they were last season, but I really rate that boy that they brought in, Phelan, as the manager. I think, obviously, we've spoke about before, maybe managers coming from Scandinavia and how we would have liked him for Rangers, mate, at a point. This boy's coming in, he's got good pedigree, obviously coming from Elfsborg. So far, the signs look good. Obviously, again, it's a Viaplay Cup, mate, and it's a glorified pre-season, but again, they've looked brilliant. I think if they get rid of Miovski, it's a kind of downer, but at the same time, they're going to end up with about 7-8 million for him, mate. So in the same way that Motherwell can go out and spend some of that money that they got for Theo Bear, Aberdeen can do that 10 times over. And I expect them to come in and bring like another probably a project, mate, because everyone's trying to replicate the Miovski model now. You look at Dundee United bringing in the 2 North Macedonian boys, so they're kind of like the blueprint for like bringing in these young talents. I think Aberdeen will go out and do it again. I think they'll go out and they'll find another decent talent. I think, like I was saying, mate, every team in the Premier League this season is signing a decent striker. So I fully expect Aberdeen to be able to do it. I don't think they'll finish third, but again, I kind of contradicts myself saying Motherwell and Hearts fighting for third if I said them fourth, but they'll definitely finish in the top 6, probably 5th at the very least.
Well, there we go. So we're going to already be going back to Lee later on in the season when Thielen's gone by Christmas. Only joking, of course. I also do rate him. I love a Scandinavian player, manager. Give me any Scandinavian. So I'm more than happy to see that happen. Paul, I'm taking your surprise package season is your 4th place. So lay it on me and the reason why.
Well, it was Aberdeen. Lee just got thunder.
Same sort of reasons?
Well, it's just that after seeing the game against Queen of the South at Palmerston, I mean, it's a banana skin. I know it's one of the Premier Sports Cup and stuff, but going down there and the way that they played, they had them playing really well down the wings, setting up the chances. And I think that the boy Sokler that scored 2 goals in that game, I think he'll come good with that kind of service that he's getting. And even yesterday in the 4-0 win at East Kilbride, he never scored, but the goals came from all round the team. You get McGrath, Clarkson, and the wing in Morris as well. Shaden Morris got a goal. So I think the fact that the goals are coming from all round the team is a good sign for them going into the SPL season.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I should have. I guess I should have prepared that both of you might pick the same surprise package, and that you might not have 2 dissimilar reasons. So moving on, then, Paul, we'll stay with you so that Lee can't steal your thunder again on this one. Who do you think is going to be the Scottish Premiership Player of the Season?
For that, I'll go with Casper Schmeichel.
Wow.
I know it's maybe a safe answer, but the pedigree that he's got, and as I said, Joe Hart was obviously quite important for Celtic last season, so I can see him being just as, if not more important than Joe Hart was. So I'll go for him.
I mean, it's a massive shout, Lee. For just I think. Listen, I'm a goalkeeper loyal sort of fan. I love to see a good goalie. I think it's a cornerstone of any team. They should win awards more often. I think, other than your goalkeeper of the year award, they should win the likes of player of the year award. I think more often. The only reason I'm thinking that is that they don't win it enough for me. So maybe I mean, Casper's got to have a big season, and I'm not sure there's enough challenge in Celtic to give him a big season, if I'm completely honest. But I never know. It could be egg on my face at the end of the season. But like Paul said, I don't think you can go too wrong picking Casper Schmeichel, top quality keeper for pretty much the majority of his career. It's not like he's not had experience in Scotland as well, albeit that one season a long time ago. But it'd be good to see. Well, I say good to see him back. Obviously, as a Rangers fan, it might not be, but for the premise of the league, it could be. Who are you picking for your player of the season, though?
So we're going to be a bit cheeky with it, mate. I don't have one yet because I don't think it's someone who's currently in the league. I think last season, obviously, with Shankland winning it, it'll end up reverting back to type, and it'll be a Celtic or a Rangers player that wins it. I just have that feeling. But there's nobody in both squads right now that I think will win it. I think it'll be a signing that someone brings in. The closest maybe would have been, again, Matt O'Reilly. But he looks like he's going to be off if the bids from Atlanta seem to be true. So I know it's a cop out to an answer, mate, but I don't see anybody in the Premier League that know that's really attracting me to it. Maybe Jan Danda, mate, but they don't really get it to attacking midfielders. It's usually the top goal scorers. So a cop out answer, but I think it will be something that's still to come in.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to also ask you there if Matt O'Reilly stays, you think it'll be him? But there you go, you've already given me that answer as well. So moving on then, and we'll stay with you, Lee, because you said it's usually given to a top goal scorer. So I'm going to ask for your top goal scorer.
Again, mate, it's a tough one. It's more of a cop out if I go back to Lon Shanklin. Just if he stays, again, it's the only one. I think Keogh goes kind of on the decline. Depending on whether Celtic bring Ad Reader, maybe with a full season behind him, he could, because he came in and made an instant impact for them. But the only one that's settled, I would say, is Lon Shankland right now. Depends whether he stays or not, because obviously there's been talk that he could go to Ipswich. But purely for the fact that I think he's probably the most settled striker in Scotland, I have to go for him now. Again, it could be someone that comes in, mate, that we've not heard of yet. So Shankland for me just now. So
you're not picking Cyril Dessers then?
Mate, I don't think I'd pick Cyril Dessers for any category.
It's fair enough. I won't listen. I'm not. It's that thing, isn't it, where you try and you express your worst fear to try and just laugh at it so we don't cry about it.
I'm just trying to enjoy myself, mate. I'm trying to enjoy myself here.
So we're not moving on. Stay on the same question, Paul. Top goal scorer for yourself?
He's done it again.
He's done it again.
No, Shankland as well, because I mean, if you put a chance in front of Shankland, he's going to score it. And I can see, as I said earlier, Jan Danda, he'll provide most of his goals again this season, and I think he'll get to about 30, maybe more. Again, Shankland. You could have, see for Dessers, you could have the most unpredictable player.
Yeah.
If you want. But
Lee's not impressed. He's not impressed.
Listen, mate, he is the most predictable boy on the planet. He'll make a bad touch, and you'll be putting goal, make a bad touch, and then that'll be the end of it.
So then he scores 2 the week after or something.
He's an absolute enigma, isn't he? It's 22 goals last season, and he still makes me want to claw my eyes out.
Wow. I mean, the next question and the final question was just a bit more of a fun one. You might all say 0 here, so it's going to be interesting. Lee, how many Scottish clubs are going to make the knockout stages of European competition this season? Bear in mind, we've got the new league phase of the European competition this year.
I completely forgot about that. I'm guessing you're not counting a team getting to the knockout round of the qualifiers. Like, that's not
Pass
that's cheating.
into the groups or the
cheating.
league and then past that.
How many teams is it to go through? Is it 8 automatic and 8 in a playoff?
So you got 8 qualify automatically, and then the following 16 go into a knockout playoff,
and then 8 go through.
Yeah. But that knockout playoff, that's fine. That's qualifying.
If it goes that, if we go in, well, I say if Rangers go into the Europa League, they'll make it. If you know what, mate, Celtic are due. Like, they're due a decent European campaign, and I think with the kind of extended league format, they'll get through as well. Then automatic. I'll say 2. Hopefully 3, because Hearts could maybe push for it, but safe answers 2.
2. Paul, what about yourself? Considering that, listen, Kilmarnock have been quite impressive in their pre-season so far, and their campaign. So is it this next week? Their campaign starts in Europe. So
Thursday
big
night.
Couple of big ones ahead of you. What are you saying for this question of how many teams qualify?
I think based on that format, I think Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, and obviously St Mirren, they're away to Iceland. So I don't know. I think they'll probably get through that one, but whether or not they'll make it through to the knockout, I'm not sure. And I've got to go with my heart and say that we will as well. So,
well, listen, it's
4 out of 5. We'll go for
4. I mean, that is. We're loving that. We're loving that optimism as Scottish football fans. It's I don't think it's maybe knockout stages is a bit of an ask, but I should have maybe asked for the league phase. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that a couple of our clubs get there now, because now we've got, obviously, I think we've got one extra team this year at least that drop into the Conference League at the very worst. When you look around some of the results, I look at the Irish teams. They do have a couple of stinkers, don't get me wrong, but they also do beat a couple of good teams along the way. I don't think we should aim high. I think for our Scottish clubs in Europe, we should be hoping that they're going to at least get to this. I say groups, but this new league phase. And I think with how good Kilmarnock have been under Derek McInnes, especially last season, I'd be looking at them. Obviously, it's going to depend on the draw, right? Because as soon as you go unseeded, you could get a real horrible draw, but you just never know. You never know, and it's good to get these predictions in, because it just builds up that excitement for the season. We're getting closer and closer. I know Lee will certainly be fearing it, getting closer and closer, because nothing seems to be happening at Ibrox at the moment. So we need it to go further and further away, really. But it is getting closer and closer. We're going to leave it there. Then we're going to wrap things up and move on, because we're coming close to time. Now, we will be back in the very, very near future. We've got plenty more for you to get your teeth into. If you did watch the Dundee United Nair game and you thought, who is this delightful man commentating? That was Rory Hamilton. You can find an interview with him on our YouTube page or anywhere you get your podcasts. That interview is there. We've also had Ian Crocker on. We've got another one coming out next month in August with this is a player this time. So we've moved on from the commentators. We've got plenty more in the bag as well. So if interviews are your thing, you can check them out. We've got plenty more pods coming up. We'll do a few more fun things. We're looking at getting other people and other sections of the media on to discuss how this season is going to go. So there's plenty of excitement to come. So lastly from me is just to thank Paul and Lee both for joining me this evening. Great to see Lee finally making his debut, and let's hope that we're going to see plenty more of him in the future. To everyone else, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe on YouTube, of course. Please give us a rating on any of the audio platforms, because it really does go a long way. So thank you very much, and we will catch you all on the next one.